my notes all spread out here so I know what to talk about. Oh, yeah, joy. Um, but before I get started, I have to do a couple of shout outs. I always tell JC when I'm up here talking, thank you for making me sound as good as I look. Because he mics me up. Well, today I look even better because of this beautiful backdrop. So Heather, thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather. So Reverend Sonia told me that the topic or the theme for the next few weeks was going to be joy. And she said I could talk about that or I could talk about whatever I wanted to. Well, joy, how hard could it be to write a sermon about joy? I mean, I'm a naturally happy person. And so, this is going to be a piece of cake. So I went to write it. Nothing. Crickets. So I went out and I took a walk and I cleared my head and I did a few errands. Still nothing. So I said, it's okay. I have tools that I can use to get me out of that writer's block or whatever. So I went to Google and said, what did Jesus have to say about joy? Well, the first verse I got back was something like Jesus telling his disciples, you have sorrow now, but you will see me again and your joy will be great. Well, that was Jesus talking to the disciples about his impending death and resurrection. Well, I'm not going to do the Easter sermon today, right? So yeah, that didn't inspire me. So the next verse was, blessed are you when others revile and persecute you. Rejoice and be glad, for your joy is in heaven. No, that was not doing it at all either. So what I decided to do was just kind of brainstorm with myself what gives me joy. And then 100 things came out. So I'm going to tell you 99 of them. Just kidding. So the first thing was sunlight and the beach. I'm a sun worshiper. I love the sun. It brings me joy. The second thing that came up was live music. I love listening to live music. Yeah, I go all the time. I just absolutely love it. It brings me joy. And y'all know I met my husband at a concert, Jimmy Buffett concert in 1981, and we saw many Jimmy Buffett concerts, and we still go listen to live music all the time. So it brings me joy. The next thing that came to mind was Christmas. I love Christmas. And there's two things that I just absolutely love at Christmas. One is looking at Christmas lights. I have loved that since I was a young child. And it's my favorite thing. It brings me joy. The other thing I do at Christmas every year that I absolutely love is watch the movie The Sound of Music. Now, y'all are saying, Terry, The Sound of Music is not a Christmas movie. And it's not, but one of the networks shows it every year at Christmas, usually the Saturday before Christmas. And that's a time when I'm kind of done. I'm prepared. I'm ready for Christmas, so I can just have a relaxing night in and watch this movie. Now, there's a guy that I worked with for 35 years actually. He was my boss early in my career, and he was my boss late in my career. And we learned early on that we both loved the movie The Sound of Music. And I brought my family over to Salzburg, Austria to do the whole Sound of Music sing-along tour. He brought his family. I highly recommend it. And so about 12 years ago, he texted me that night when they played the movie right before Christmas. Are you watching our movie? And we just started texting the whole way through it. We both have the same favorite scene. It's the one where the captain and Maria are dancing on the patio before the big ball, and you just see them fall in love. So every year since then, we text through that whole movie every year at Christmas. It brings me joy. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about that brings me joy is 3 days a week, I go over here in Creekside, just right around the corner, to the Rob Fleming Aquatic Park, and I do a water walk in the lazy river. You know, the lazy river, it's like a concrete river, and the kids get on their inner tubes and float. Well, there's an exercise group that meets there 3 days a week, and whether you're walking with the current or against the current, it is good exercise. And you may be thinking, how do you get joy from that? Well, let me tell you. On the last day of the class, at the end of August, they let us go down the slide, the big slide, and that brings me joy. So I was able to get in touch with joy. So then I started thinking, well, what do I believe about joy? Well, I believe that joy is God's will for us, and that it's our birthright, and we deserve it, and that when we can connect with God through oneness, unity, when we can connect with our higher power, that's when we can experience joy. And for me, a lot of it is this concept of oneness and connection. So that's why I can text through that whole movie with a friend and just have connection and joy, because it's oneness, it's unity. And the same thing is true of the slide at the water park. And you're wondering, oh, how's she going to spin this? Well, let me tell you, on that last day before we go down the slide, the minute I get in that lazy river and start exercising, I'm asking everybody, is it time to go down the slide? Can we go down the slide yet? And they're like, no, you have to wait. You have to do your hard work first. But it's just connection. It's having fun. It's being happy, and it's showing the Christ within. And that very first year that I went down the slide, I squealed and screamed and giggled the whole way down. And when I got down to the bottom and came out of the chute at the end, someone asked me, was it really that fun? And I said, it was. And they said, I'm afraid to go down. Will you go with me? And I said, yes. And so I took them up. It's like a 3-story tall slide, so we had to climb to the top. And I showed them how it works. You get on an inner tube, and there's a lifeguard at the top and one at the bottom. And so they went down, I followed them, and they said, that really was fun. Let's do it again. So we did it again. So again, it's connection. So for me, that's key, that I think that God's will for us is to have joy in the present moment. And when we align our will with God's will through love and oneness and unity, instead of fear and anger, that's when we can experience joy. Now, it helps if you stop judging and attacking and gossiping, and you have to forgive. So forgiveness for me is key. And I've learned a little technique for forgiveness that's pretty simple. It's just me letting go of my stuff so that I can have peace. So it's not about what anyone else did. It's me letting go of my stuff so that I can have peace. And that's the key. And I'm a work in progress. It's difficult, right? I have to work on it over and over. And someone gave me a little index card once that said, I forgive you for being the recipient of my misperception. I forgive you for being the recipient of my misperception. I had to think about that one a long time. There were big words in there, you know. But when I thought about it, I realized, yeah, and that paired with just letting things go so that I can have peace, that's key. It's all about me and not about what someone has done to me. So I was able to get my head around joy. I was able to kind of verbalize to myself what I believed about peace and forgiveness and oneness and connection. So why was this talk so hard to write? What is so difficult about joy? Why is joy so difficult? I came up with 3 reasons. And these resonate with me, and I hope you find a little bit of that in you as well. But the first one is, I don't think we're good at receiving. I don't think we're good at receiving joy. And the second one is we have to be in the now to experience joy. And the third one is I think sometimes we just get hung up in sadness or fear or anger or worry. And so we get stuck in that, we don't experience joy. I'm going to quote one of my favorite songwriters, Bruce Cockburn. He wrote a song called Pacing the Cage. And that's really about being overwhelmed with some of these emotions. And so the lyrics go, sometimes the best map will not guide you. You can't see what's around the bend. Sometimes you get stuck in the darkness. And sometimes that darkness is your friend. Sooner or later, you start pacing the cage. And when I'm experiencing that, the only thing that helps me is just to take some time, take some breaths, and really feel those uncomfortable feelings, wallow in them, and then they start to dissipate. And then I can feel the joy. And that goes hand in hand with that next thing of just being in the now. So if I'm worried about the future, and if I'm playing out in my head 100 different ways that a scenario can work out or happen, I'm not in the now. I can't experience joy. And if I'm stuck in what happened in the past, and I'm feeling guilt, and I'm worried about stuff I did 10 years ago or 5 minutes ago or whatever it is, then yeah, I can't experience joy. We have to experience joy in the current moment. God's will for us is joy in the present moment, not in the future, but right now. So that's the second thing. The third thing, I think we're just not good at receiving. And let's think about that from a cultural perspective. What have we been taught? It is more blessed to give than to receive. We shouldn't be receiving anything. We shouldn't receive good. We shouldn't receive help from others. We need to be independent and do everything on our own. I'm not sure that's always right. We've also been told blessed are the poor in spirit. And I think that I just shorten that to blessed are the poor in everything. Again, I need to be on my own and do everything for myself. I can't receive good from others. And I also learned that it's hard to experience joy because I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. We can't experience joy. Don't do that. That's what I learned. I also learned that at work, right? I remember the first project I was managing, and someone said, "How's that project going?" And I said, "You know what? It's really going really well. Like we're ahead of schedule, and our budget's okay, and I love my team, and it's going good." What happened next? There was a disaster of biblical proportions on that project. I kid you not. So I learned the other shoe is going to drop. Don't enjoy the joy. And I learned to say, no matter what was going on in a project, yeah, it's going okay. Yeah, we got issues. Oh, yeah, we're working. Yeah, we're going to work those issues out. But yeah, I'm not going to celebrate anything until the very end. So we learn that we're not good at receiving. Now, a friend of mine told me a story about receiving that made a huge impact on me. And this was in one of our groups here at the church, and I think it impacted everyone in that group. So she is the most graceful and gracious person you will ever meet. She's always kind of perfectly dressed, and just a gracious person. Well, she went to Kroger one day, and she's checking out. She's got her handful of things that she needed. And all of a sudden, they start making a big deal about her being there. You're our 1,000th customer or something. And the manager runs over, and all these people are coming over, and they're stopping the whole line, giving her a lot of attention. I don't think she was real comfortable with all that attention. And they gave her a gift card, and the florist came over and gave her flowers. And then a woman from the bakery comes out with this enormous cake and the biggest smile on her face. And she walks toward her, and my friend says, "I'm sorry, I live alone. I just cannot possibly take that cake. I can't possibly take that big cake." And she watched the woman, she just watched the smile fall off of her face. And she learned in that instant that she should have been able to receive, and that she needed to get better at receiving. And that if she could have received that cake, she would have made that woman so happy. So by learning how to receive joy and receive from others, we can give joy. We can experience joy. We can be joy. What stories are you telling yourself about joy? What stories are you telling yourself about receiving joy and other good things in your life? I want to challenge you to leave here and go be joyful. Go experience joy and go receive joy. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.